Can I firstly acknowledge the presence of the British Ambassador to Ireland, Fáilte, and just to extend again our profound sympathies on the loss of Queen Elizabeth II for the British people, but I think in particular for Irish Unionists, for whom she has been a very significant figure, a figure of great affinity and affection. So, Arieste go raibh a hanam dílis. Taoiseach. Workers and families are being hammered, as you know, by unprecedented surges in energy bills. In fact, households have been hit by more than 50 price hikes since the beginning of last year, with more to come. To underscore the seriousness of the situation, a government memo seen by media last week states that 1 million households could face annual energy bills of €6,000 if prices keep rising at the current rate. And this prediction will have sent a shiver down the spines of people who already struggle to light and heat their homes. So we now head into winter. We have darker days, longer nights, and households' use of energy will increase significantly at a time when prices are through the roof, which will only add to the unbearable pressure people are under. And the hard truth is that many households will go under trying to pay these extortionate bills unless government makes the right intervention. There's been a lot of kite flying from government, mainly centred around further energy credits. And while energy credits are well and good, they do not provide certainty. They don't protect people from the continuous barrage of hikes. In fact, when the government introduced its initial energy credit, it was too slow. It was wiped out by further price hikes before it even landed into people's accounts. So this is clearly a flawed approach. Households need a government response that matches the scale of the crisis, and the government, I believe, must take action to cut electricity prices to pre-crisis levels and apply a cap to freeze them at that level until the end of February of next year. And the benefit of this measure is twofold. Firstly, it ensures that electricity bills are more affordable, and additionally and crucially, it provides households with the certainty that they need at these difficult times. Certainty that their electricity bills will be brought down, certainty that the relief provided won't be swallowed up by future price hikes, certainty that they can get through the winter months. Cutting electricity bills and freezing them at pre-crisis levels will deliver that assurance. It simply makes sense, Taoiseach. And yet, speaking on radio yesterday, you ruled this out. Your colleague, Minister Michael McGrath, echoed this, suggesting that things should simply be worked out at an EU level. And I know that people have heard that line before. They've heard that line used as an alibi for the slow response of government to this crisis that left households struggling for months. Taoiseach, tá sé ann Billy electrica sé gearra, agus cap a chur bhili chuí do cuinál ag an méid a bhí siad ribh an near céim. Tuirfeadh sé sin faoisimh agus cínteacht de cheamhlaí atá stracailt, agus thuirfeadh sé cosint ó ordaithe breise na míonna amach rowing. Taoiseach, it's all about choices. In the budget, government must choose to cut electricity bills and to cap them at pre-crisis levels. It's the right thing to do. It's the only thing that can provide some level of certainty for households. It's a measure that will prevent future price hikes and ease the burden on hard-pressed workers and families. And by cutting and then capping electricity bills, this government can really choose to protect households. And I am asking you and urging you, Taoiseach, to make that choice.
Government and on my own behalf, again, would like to convey my deepest sympathy to King Charles, the royal household, the United Kingdom government and the British people on the loss of their beloved monarch, Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth. There are many in Ireland who, on this island, who see Queen Elizabeth as their queen, and we sympathise with them on this very sad moment in history witnessing an incredible reign in terms of duration, in terms of duty and in terms of service. And I will long remember her visit in 2011, which did mark a crucial step in the normalisation of British-Irish relationships, and particularly when it culminated in the visit to Cork and during her walkabout at the English market. And in that classic Cork manner, everything eased, calmed, a bit of banter with the people, and much more gregarious than perhaps other locations across the country. But it is one that will always endure in the folklore of our city and indeed the country more at large. Could I say, in respect of the energy and the cost of living crisis, we are facing the worst global energy crisis, at least since the 1970s, probably worse than the 1970s because it applies to gas and not just oil and other fuel types. And clearly it emanates from a war, a deadly war in terms of the Putin's war on the people of Ukraine and his weaponization of war. And we need to be very clear about that at all times in assessing and in terms of how we respond to this issue. And it's having massive consequences for the entirety of Europe. So it does make sense that the European Union and Ireland is part of a wider European Union framework, not just relying on EU measures alone, as the Deputy wrongly suggested in terms of commenting on Deputy Minister McGrath's comments yesterday. The European Union framework is extremely important. We import from the United Kingdom 3/4 of the natural gas we use. About half of our electricity is generated using gas, so spiralling gas prices feed through to higher electricity bills. The price for UK natural gas on wholesale markets today is 3.92 pence a therm. This day 2 years ago, the price was 32 pence a therm. So we're talking about a more than tenfold, more than 1,000% increase in international gas prices. Future markets are pointing to even higher prices in the coming months. A therm of gas to be delivered in December costs 5.74 pence. A February delivery is priced at 543 pence. Non-energy prices, and this is important as well, are also now surging, with food and other grocery prices rising rapidly and putting severe pressure on household budgets. So that's the context. The second point is the need to interview in a very significant manner is not questioned. There's no debate about that. Government's very clear we have to intervene, as we did last year with the £2.5 billion package on cost of living. And government, just like we did during COVID, will intervene again to protect households and to protect jobs. Now, the issue that the Deputy has put forward is one of methodology, of mechanism. What's the best way of intervening to protect people? The Deputy's view is, and Sinn Féin position is, that we give a blank cheque to energy companies as a kind of a singular, almost isolated approach to this crisis, which is much more now than an energy crisis for many households. Government's view is, for the time being, we want to get people through the winter to the end of March, not the end of February. We want to get people through to the end of March. We've got to do it using a range of measures in terms of reducing electricity bills, yes, but also giving flexibility to the people in the form of payments that we give them, either through the welfare system, through energy credits, through cost reductions, through investment in public services in the budget, which will also reduce costs for parents and for families. And so there's a range of mechanisms we can use. Now, what I would ask the Deputy, if we could get a fully costed paper from the Deputy in terms of your proposals, because if you don't mind me saying so, I was less than convinced by your presentation on Morning Ireland yesterday. I genuinely would like a fully costed proposal from you in respect of your chosen method of intervention in the electricity price market. I do believe we have to target measures to those who need them the most, but also universally then people will need support. And we need to focus in on protecting jobs, because clearly many jobs could be at risk if enterprises become unviable because of the extraordinary increase in energy that I've just outlined. That is a global phenomenon, obviously. Now, because of the sound management of the economy, we do have resources to allocate to reduce pressures on people and to protect jobs. And that's what we intend to do.
Thank you, Deputy MacDonald.
So, Taoiseach, not for the first time, but once again, you are totally and utterly wrong in your response here. See, our proposal is about helping families. It's about providing certainty so that they can get through what will be very difficult winter months. Our proposals are time limited, and interventions at the European level are of course necessary and welcome, but they should not be used again as an excuse for government to delay and dither and sit on your hands. In fact, our proposal would work in tandem with the proposed EU measures. Our proposals are similar to price certainty measures that have been introduced elsewhere, for example in France, in Romania, and other emergency measures, as you know, have been introduced in Spain, in Portugal, in Italy. And the only blank cheque in question here, Taoiseach, is the one that you are asking families to give to energy companies, because your failure to act in the way that I have described will allow prices to continue to rise. And one thing is absolutely certain, families cannot cope with that, and they are depending on you to act definitively. So I'm going to ask you again to move to cut electricity bills back to pre-crisis levels, and to cap them at that level for the winter months until the end of February. That is what is required here.
Thank you very much. Taoiseach, please.
You said that your proposals are time limited. I would say to the Deputy, the crisis may not be time limited. You may need to think beyond the end of February. I am. That is the point. That is the very point I'm making. Your proposal is vague. It's not costed, it's one-dimensional, doesn't have the breadth or depth of what the government is considering in terms of alleviating and reducing pressures on households, protecting jobs, but also helping out schools in terms of capitation grants, helping out various state entities that provide services to the public, whose energy costs are going through the roof as well, who will also need protection and need supports because and then there is the non-energy inflation, which is now running at about 6%, which is a serious worry as well in terms of the inflationary cycle we're currently going through. And that means supports have to be given to people on a broader basis, in addition to the supports on the energy front. You said I was completely wrong. Don't know what you're saying about that. Because
time is up
we
now.
agree. We are going to intervene. We're going to reduce the burden in terms of electricity prices on people, but we're going to do more in terms of the budget. In terms of pay, we've concluded the public service pay.
Please,
we will have tax proposals, and we will have tax proposals in the budget as well, and we'll be reducing costs more broadly.
Now.